I was disowned by my entire family after being falsely accused of sleeping with my cousin's fiancée. Now, the truth has finally come to light. How did my life even become this? Seriously, I can't even wrap my head around it. Family disowned me, friends turned their backs, and I'm even banned from my favorite pub. I swear, I didn't do anything to deserve this. Okay, let me start by reintroducing myself. I'm Alex, and this is the living hell story that started about 3 months ago. I was honored to be a groomsman for my cousin, Ethan, who was getting married to Chloe. Chloe had been one of my closest friends since we were toddlers playing in the sprinklers. The wedding day arrived, and I was busy directing guests to their seats. Everything was normal until Ethan stormed in, dragging a group of groomsmen and other people after him, all looking agitated. Ethan looked at me and growled, "Alex." Before I could even mumble a reply, bam! A punch landed square on my face, then, bam, bam. A combo of punches, you guys. He was yelling while hitting me, "How could you do this? I know everything." The groomsman jumped in, finally yanking him away from me. I was astonished, my mind whirling, and I couldn't understand anything. What's going on? What did I actually do? They hurriedly took me out of the room, leaving me with a lot of questions in my head. The next stop was the clinic. My lip was swollen, my nose was bleeding, and my left eye was going black and blue. The doctor patched me up and asked if I wanted to pursue charges, but all I wanted to know was why Ethan had freaked out. Dad texted, "Wedding is off. You have till the end of the day to get your belongings out of the residence." WTF, I hadn't lived with my parents in months, but I still kept some stuff there. This text was like an extra hit in the belly, and I hurried immediately to their house to get some explanations. When I entered the house, my parents and siblings stared at me as if I were a criminal. It was then that I realized I was being accused of sleeping with Chloe, Ethan's future wife. What? I was shocked. I disputed it immediately, but no one listened. My brother slammed a bag containing my belongings at my feet and kicked me out. "Get out. Don't ever return." I was absolutely disoriented, not knowing what was going on or where it was coming from. I attempted to contact Ethan for an explanation, but he had blocked my phone number. Calling anyone in the family resulted in being yelled at or getting hung up on. I finally decided to call Chloe. The initial call was a catastrophe. We were both yelling and blaming each other, but when we settled down, we recognized something was wrong. We were both caught in a trap, but we had no idea who set it or why. To avoid making matters worse, we agreed not to meet in person and instead texted and emailed to put things together. No matter how hard we tried, we kept hitting dead ends. Everyone believed we were having an affair, but when we asked for proof, they remained mute. When I finally spoke with Ethan, he asked for proof that I hadn't slept with Chloe. I was stunned. My family cut off contact, acquaintances turned their backs, and even my favorite coffee shops and pubs refused to serve me. It turned out that Ethan had connections all over the place and was not afraid to use them. After Ethan moved out of her apartment, her family abandoned her, and friends evaporated. To make matters worse, her co-workers were making her life terrible. I couldn't stand it any longer, so I told Chloe I was leaving this dead-end town. She agreed, and we decided it was better to go our separate ways and start over somewhere else. Throwback Thursday, 5 years later. It's been 5 years since I last had a proper conversation with my family. 5 years since my cousin Ethan's almost wedding. Back then, I was accused of sleeping with Chloe, his soon-to-be wife. Those accusations were completely fabricated, but who cared? Ethan punched me in front of everyone, the wedding was cancelled, and my entire family turned their back on me. At first, I tried to clear my name, begging them to believe me, but after a while, I realized it was pointless, so I left everything behind and moved away. Chloe went through the same thing. Her family also believed the lies and disowned her, so she, too, decided to start over, but in different states. The incessant accusations and gossip exhausted me, so I decided to break off all links with people from my old life, except for Chloe. She was the only one who fully understood what I had gone through. We kept in touch through social media and the occasional phone conversation, but that was it. For the past 3 years, I've been with Olivia, an amazing woman. I told her the whole story about Chloe and me, every painful detail. Surprisingly, even though they've never met, Olivia and Chloe get along great. They even share a love for the Hunger Games. Every other week, they hop on Zoom, sipping wine and snacking, chatting about books and life. It's amazing. Olivia and I have been invited to Chloe's wedding next month, which will be the first time I've seen her in 5 years. I have big plans of my own. I'm going to propose to Olivia, not at the wedding, nor even during that trip. I don't want to overshadow Chloe's big day, but the prospect of sharing my life with Olivia grows stronger by the day. So why am I telling you all of this? Because last week, something happened that shocked me to the core. A ghost from the past decided to re-emerge. Update. That day, Olivia was working from home. She does it frequently these days, when she doesn't want to deal with the terrible traffic. Her job is rather flexible. I'm not that fortunate. Olivia contacted me around lunchtime. She typically contacts me when I'm at work, so seeing her name appear on my phone in the middle of the day seemed suspicious. Her voice was unsteady as she told me what had happened. After going out for lunch at our favorite shawarma establishment, she returned home to find a letter posted to the door. "We need to talk, I'll be returning tonight." Although there was no signature, she believed it was for me because my name was on the door. Olivia was terrified by the note, so she locked all the doors and stayed inside all day. When she told me about it, I requested an early leave from work and rushed home. We stayed up late that night, waiting to see who left the note, and even though I didn't think it was necessary, I didn't say anything when Olivia grabbed a baseball bat and placed it next to the couch. She was clearly on edge, and I didn't want to make things worse. But no one came, and the night was silent. For the next 2 days, nothing happened. No strange notes, no unexpected visits, just an odd, disturbing silence. Then, on the evening of the third day, the doorbell rang, and I opened it to see a man standing there, looking exhausted, as if he hadn't slept in days, and smelling faintly of alcohol. "Hey, Alex," he began, his voice raspy and familiar. "Long time no see." A shudder rushed down my spine as soon as he spoke. I recognized the person standing in front of me as Ethan. Honestly, I didn't want to allow Ethan in. The last time we spoke, he almost hurled a beer glass at my face, so when he popped up unexpectedly, I wasn't exactly rolling out the red carpet. This is how our first discussion went. "Ethan, won't you invite me in?" "Me? No. I don't think that will happen." "Ethan. Okay, fair enough, I came to apologize. I know the truth now." "Me. I accept your apology. Goodbye." I was about to slam the door, but he wouldn't give up so simply. "Ethan. Wait. Are you not going to let me explain?" "Me. Not really. An explanation could have been useful back then, before everyone I cared about turned away from me. But what good will it do now?" "Ethan. All right, you have a point. But I'd still like to apologize to Chloe. Can you provide me her contact information?" My response: "I could, but I'm not going to." "Ethan. Come on, Alex. I just want to apologize to her." "Me. I'll tell her you're attempting to contact out. If she wishes to talk, she will contact you directly, but you should keep away from her." That was all I wanted to say, so I slammed the door and went away. Through the door, I heard him cry, "Unblock your mother? She wants to speak to you." I didn't respond. Instead, I went straight to the living room, where Olivia was waiting. I told her everything that had just transpired, and we both agreed that the first step should be to phone Chloe. If anybody needed to know about Ethan's reappearance, it was her. When I called, Chloe was astonished, and she made it obvious that she didn't want Ethan to receive her contact information, which I assured her I would never give him. It took me a few days to determine what to do about my mother. Finally, I cleared her phone number and texted her a simple message. "Heard you wanted to talk?" A few minutes later, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. I let it ring and texted back, "Text only, no calls." She replied quickly, "Mom. We know you spoke with Ethan. We want you to come home." Me. "I am at home." "Mom. You understand what I mean. We'd like to apologize and welcome you back to the family." Me. "I accept your apology. I am staying here. Your mother. We just want to make things right." Me. "I will think about it. Goodbye." I realize it probably sounded callous, but when the people you care about throw you away like garbage, it changes you. Right now, I'm not ready to let my old life interfere with the life I've created here. Olivia, Chloe, her fiancé, and I are all on the same page about this. For the time being, nothing has changed. We've agreed to keep the past firmly in the past. We'll talk about it again after Chloe's wedding, but for now, remaining out of contact feels like the safest option. Wedding vibes, the truth is out. Chloe's wedding was amazing. A day full of joy and love that she absolutely deserved, after everything she's been through. After some long conversations, I decided to return to my hometown to meet with my family. It wasn't an easy decision, but I felt that I needed to close this chapter, one way or another. I requested that Chloe's parents and Ethan attend the wedding. I also noticed a familiar bridesmaid sitting alone, looking uneasy and withdrawn. I couldn't pinpoint why I thought she was significant until later when I arrived at the meeting. When I arrived at the meeting, my mother immediately tried to hug me, but I gently stopped her and kept a safe distance. Before anyone could say anything, I took out my phone, turned it on the speakerphone, and placed it in my shirt pocket. "Chloe's on the line," I stated. "She's listening to everything, but her microphone is muted. If she wishes to speak, she will unmute. If she decides she is finished with this talk, she will disconnect. It is entirely her decision." Chloe's father frowned. "Why isn't she here herself?" I looked him directly in the eyes and said, "Because she informed me last week that she doesn't feel safe after what occurred 5 years ago." Could you blame her? Ethan didn't just punch me that day. He also smacked Chloe. And didn't even give her the opportunity to defend herself. Hearing that, Ethan's face became pale, and a murmur of concern swept through the room. Yet, they eventually began to describe what had happened. 2 years after the scandal, Ethan married Megan, the bridesmaid I had noticed at the wedding. Their marriage was rocky from the start, with constant arguments. During one of those fights, about 6 months ago, Megan slipped up and admitted that she had sabotaged Chloe's relationship with Ethan, only to hear about it throughout their marriage. Megan stated that she was the one who told Ethan that Chloe was having an affair with me. She claimed to have observed it but couldn't provide any evidence, and she made it all up to pull them apart. When Ethan brought this accusation to the family, everyone believed him without question. They assumed he wouldn't ruin his own wedding unless he had a good reason, and they just took Megan's word as gospel. They didn't stop to talk to me or Chloe, nor did they give us a chance to explain or defend ourselves. Now that the truth had been revealed, they wanted to apologize, make things right, and welcome us back into their lives. I sat there for a moment, contemplating what I just heard, before turning to Megan. "Let me get things straight. You wanted to be with Ethan so badly that you damaged Chloe's life to get her out of the way. You built your fleeting happiness on lies, on betraying those who trusted you. Was I just collateral damage? How does it feel to know that all you built was based on someone else's pain?" Next, I looked at Ethan. "We've grown up together, guy. Chloe, you and I felt like family even before we became one. But instead of approaching us, you simply believed her falsehoods and tore our lives apart. How could you do that?" Finally, I addressed Chloe's parents and my own. To both of you, I will pose the same question. You reared us. I believed you were aware of our identities. But when the initial complaint was leveled, you didn't even engage in a civil conversation. You did not believe we were worth the opportunity to defend ourselves. You basically assumed the worst and brushed us aside. How could you do it? Nobody said anything. They just sat there in silence. Following a lengthy pause, I continued. I know where I stand with all of you now. You made it apparent 5 years ago that you did not believe I was worth it. No phone call, no talk. You showed me my spot, but it isn't here. I cannot speak for Chloe. She will make her own decision on what happens next. If she accepts your apologies, she will contact you. But do not hold your breath. As for me, I'm finished. I'm returning to my true house, which I created after you all abandoned me. And, while I'm relieved to finally know what occurred, all of this could have been avoided if anyone here had exercised common sense 5 years ago. Maybe this will still feel like home." I walked out, blocked their phones again, and contacted Chloe to make sure she hadn't missed anything crucial. We both decided that this was the end of the line, and we'd keep out of communication with everyone involved. The next morning, as I drove out of town, I had a sense of closure. This would be the last time I ever came back here. My future was waiting for me back home, with Olivia. I already had the ring, and it was finally time to ask her to marry me. Engagement goals, a new beginning. And that was how my life turned a new page. After all the pain and loss, I found true happiness. I learned that family isn't always blood, but the people who love and accept you unconditionally. I learned that the truth always wins, even if it takes a long time. And I learned that no matter what life throws at you, you can always stand up and build a better life. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.